Welcome to another edition of Extra Connections here on JLJ Media. I'm the JLJ of JLJ Media. Imagine that, James Lott Jr. Welcome to the show. I love talking to creatives, and this person is a triple threat, folks. And I mean in a good sense, because he writes, he produces, and then somehow he stars in these things too. He's like, I do all this. I'm gonna make sure I'm in front of the camera also. So he's behind and in front of the camera, which I love that. We're going to talk about all of that. He has a film called Ultra Reality starring, yes, Tobin Bell. Yes, that one. Lance Henriksen. Yes, that Lance Henriksen. On the late Ed Asner, as you friends of this company know that we're fans of his. And through his K Street Pictures. And I think it's out today, right? Nationally today? Actually, as
Yeah,
of
coming out nationally today. We're we're very excited.
February 16th is out today. But it's not the first time he's done this. He also has other films that he's written, starred, and produced. So we're going to talk all of that. Help me welcome Charles Agron. Hi, Charles.
How are you doing? I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here too. First of all, how are you doing today? I always like to ask people, how are you doing today?
Oh my Lord. Talk about anxiety. We're very, very excited. I mean, I'm just getting phone calls and texts and people are getting ready to come to the red carpet and that kind of stuff. And it's just like, I don't know. It's pretty surreal right now, but things are busy to say the least.
Yeah, it's you're giving birth. You're saying, here you go, here's my child,
Yeah.
and you can call it ugly or beautiful or whatever you want to call it, but here it is for you to look at, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's like welcome to the world. It's like now you can't really control anything, you can't edit anything, you can't do it. You got to just sort of let it out there and see what people think. And most importantly, it's for the fans for me. I want to know how they think about it.
It's a question I don't think I've ever asked anybody. I'm gonna ask you. I mean, I've done this. I've been doing this business 17 years, but I'm just thinking. I don't think I've ever asked someone who's written and produced and acted in something before this question. Is a film in your thought? Is it in the end? Is it an editor thing? Is it a director thing? Is there an actor? Like in the end, when you see a finished product, what do you think brings the most to making what the film is?
Oh wow, that's a pretty loaded and complicated one because it's like from putting something on the page,
Right.
then to casting the actors, and then to being on production. Each aspect leads a little bit more, puts a little bit more breath into the project. And then once obviously the director has his opinions and ideas, and also locations impact the script because I was in Oklahoma for a film, and there was no tunnels. There just wasn't tunnels. No matter we went like 100 miles in every direction, there was no tunnels. So it's like, there's something you have to deal with. And then once it gets sort of into the edit bay, everybody's got an opinion, and so you kind of have to kind of mold it together, listen to opinions, and sometimes opinions are good and sometimes opinions aren't good, and then eventually you kind of take the good, you take the bad, and you put it all together, and that's sort of how a movie is born.
How do you navigate the different hats? Because you're the writer. And I'm sure you've done projects where you were just the actor. You probably just came on into the acting. But when you're
Yep.
the writer and when you're the producer, 'cause you're not directing, that's somebody else directed. This one was directed by Donnie FauntLeRoy, but for Ultra Reality. But for you, how do you navigate those couple of different hats? Like, because you're the because you're on a page and on the stage, right? And you put it on, you wrote the words, but then also you're acting it and you're producing it. So how do you wear those different hats?
Well, it's interesting because when obviously when you write it, you can see the film kind of in your head the entire
Right.
time. And so when you're producing it, you also have to, like I said, other people on the team are going to suggest certain ideas. And really, for me, I will listen to any advice or thoughts, especially someone like a Donnie Fauntleroy who's done like a million movies. And so it's certainly not his first rodeo. But ultimately, you have to stay true to the vision, and everybody has to trust that as an artist, my end game, even though what you might be doing in the moment might not make sense, it's because I already have it in my head as to what basically want it to look like. Like I said, I don't want to shut out all opinions or ideas. There's some very talented artists that I work with, but that's sort of how you navigate it as the producer. As an actor, you have to work with a director that you trust because you have to work with someone who obviously your director's giving you direction, but you have to also trust that direction. And someone like a Donnie Fauntleroy, if he takes me to the side and says, why don't we try it this way, or this might look good, you feel comfortable making those changes and getting vulnerable and doing those sort of things, as opposed to maybe somebody who is just, trying to do a scene to make themselves look good and maybe doesn't worry about how the actors turn out. It's got to be a kind of a team game, sort of like I say, I like to work with and turn my team into a family, and everybody's sort of with the same goal. So that's sort of the difference there. I hope that kind of describes the differentiation of how you attack it.
Well, no, well, what you're saying is that, which is like in any business, in anything, you surround yourself with good people. That's the whole
Without a
point.
People ask me, why do I like to work with Tobin Bell? Why do I like to work with Lance Henriksen? It's like they are two of the best. That's why. I mean, I mean the what you learn from working with those type of actors, Ed Asner, legends. I mean, there's stuff that you'll learn in 5 minutes working with them that you will never learn from a book or from an acting class or anything like that. Very different styles. Tobin is very surgical kind of in his approach. Lance is always throwing you for loops out there, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm very lucky to have worked with both of them. I would love to work with them again.
Yeah, you worked with Lance previously in your film Monday at 11:01 a.m. I love that title. I just love that title. Uh,
Thank you.
you did that, and you also worked with Tobin in Dark House, correct?
That's right.
So
That's
yeah,
right.
you're right. Well, that's the whole thing. It's almost like a repertory theater. You have those actors that you can call on who will show, because yeah, folks at home, you want somebody who's going to show up on set on time and be ready and know their lines, who's going to be pleasant to work with.
Definitely.
You know that. A lot of folks don't know that at home. Like, what's going on? Like, no, it's seriously, because you're on set a lot of hurry up and wait, a lot of change, something's going on. So you want those two things especially. And if you find people like that, you probably just hold on to them. Like, okay, you're part of my group. And they know you too. You know them, they know you. You're like, I know they can do this. I mean, it makes life easier, doesn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, on certain days, maybe it's going to be a long night, and it's going to be a long night, and you can kind of just all kind of sit down and kind of laugh about it rather than just sort of, walk around in a bad mood. So it definitely makes a big difference working with people that you like, as opposed to maybe somebody who's a little bit more self-interested. How about we say that?
Yes, let's be polite today. Yes, we'll do that. We'll be polite. But folks know what that means. No. They know what that means. Well, so let's talk about altered reality. So what is this film?
Well, altered reality, I guess the premise, something that's been very kind of important to me, or something I've thought about a lot, is time. I mean, like you mentioned before, I had another movie called Monday at 11:01 a.m. And I think that time is our most precious gift. And I think it's also a gift that a lot of us take for granted. And I have always sort of worked with this concept of, or thought about this concept, about wonder if the past, the present, and future all existed at the same time. A lot of people, make decisions and they don't understand how important some of the decisions they make, how they impact their lives, good or bad. Sometimes the easy decision is actually the bad decision for the long run, and sometimes the hard decision is the decision you should be making. And so I really kind of like to take my audience on a journey of kind of what ifs and keep them kind of guessing as we approach to the end of the movie. In this, in altered reality, my character Oliver gets offered a deal with the devil, and riches and fame and sort of that sort of thing. But in doing so, he's brought some pills, a medicine that doesn't exist in our time. And so by bringing that into the present, he now has to deal with all the consequences of this changing what should have been and what is now. And so he has to deal with unexpected loss. His relationship with his wife changes. As it says in the trailer, there's new friends, and sometimes it's not good to have a lot of new friends under this type of circumstance. And so Oliver Cook has to navigate these decisions and realize that maybe all the money and fame in the world is not worth giving up what he had.
I am fascinated by time stuff. I mean, I grew up with H.G. Wells' Time Machine. That was the first thing I ever read. That's time related. A Wrinkle in Time. All those kind of things. I mean, I love that kind of stuff where it's like, what would happen if because I mean I'm sure there are reference feelings from Rod Serling, possibly Twilight Zone
Definitely.
stuff. Which I mean, I'm talking, folks. The original Twilight Zone series, not the one in the '80s, that was cheesy. The original to me was highly superior. I don't know how you feel about the '80s one or was the '90s one, but the original always had that twist, that bent. And I'm telling you, the one that always gets me, because I do wear glasses right over here. Of course, it's
Mhm.
Burgess Meredith. He has all the books in order for every day, every month, he's ready, and he breaks his glasses. And when he says, "Why?" I mean, it's like I cry every time. I get that one so badly. But anyway, so would Rod Serling be kind of one of your influences?
Oh, without a doubt. You bring up something that's so interesting because with the Twilight Zone series, they would bring up like issues that were very provocative. And one of the most important things I think about sort of like, the sci-fi space is that you can kind of bring up things like, for instance, playing with time that you can't do in real life, but you can kind of bring in moral dilemmas and still kind of suspend, reality a little bit and let you kind of play in that space. And I think that in the Twilight Zone, they did that. And what blows my mind is how many they did and how quickly they did it, because there were so many topics that were so interesting. I mean, I remember obviously John Lithgow on the plane
Oh,
with the little, yeah, yeah.
yes,
Remember that one?
yes.
I was like, oh my Lord.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? That was like, and then nobody sees it, but then at the end, the engine's got the scratches. Oh, I mean, it just like I almost have chills like talking about it right now.
Yes, yeah.
Or sort of like you said, where he loses the glasses, like kind of dealing with that the selfishness of wanting to be alone and just kind of like being excited, and then the glasses go and he's got nothing now. It's just such a strong and empty feeling. And once you're able to get the audience to feel that, that's when you're a true artist. And that's, hopefully one day people will look back at me and say that that's the type of feelings that they got leaving one of my movies.
Well, it's also like the one with the mask. And there was a time. It's like you have to keep the mask on to the strike of this, and then you take it
Mhm.
off. They find out they're rich, but they're all pig faced.
That's it.
That is
Oh,
it's so effed up. I don't know the word for it, but like it had there's something to be said about looks and how
yeah.
money can be like make people like it's like if there's you're right. There's so many layers to his stuff. I think of other things like Inception,
Mhm.
Cloud Atlas, like anything that's doing any kind of time
Right.
playing with time. 'Cause you're right. It's it's kind of new territory. It's open territory. I guess
That's
it's like
right.
you can do anything, right? So when you're writing, you're thinking, I can write whatever I want, right? Basically.
Well, that's the beauty of the sci-fi. You can go in any direction. You can kind of moralistically create this tremendous tension, and as long as people know that it's a sci-fi, they're willing to go that leap, and that's what's so great. That's why I have a lot of fun in that space.
Yeah. Oh my, yeah, definitely. It's a lot of fun. Wait, so okay, so between this movie and like I said the other movies, where do the seeds of an idea come from? Because I'm assuming you probably have a bunch of different seeds, but which ones
Mhm.
actually grow into I'm going to write this screenplay. I'm going to continue this one.
Oh, it's interesting. I've sort of thought about this as well because it's like, I'm influenced by music a lot,
Oh,
and
okay.
you'd be shocked at like how like even a song or something like that, or I'll get like an underlying theme like the time and some it's like time, and then I like some like a song will speak to me, or like a personality or a decision somebody might made, gets me thinking about, wonder if that person had done something different. Obviously, you don't want to be judgmental. People can make whatever decisions they want, but it's like you keep kind of bringing in information and these ideas just sort of kind of grow in your head. And for me, like I had the concept for altered reality in a long time in my head. And I remember eventually when I was like, you know what, I'm going to write this thing, I locked myself in a hotel, and 3 days later I had the first draft. So
3 days
you know
later.
3 days later, and a lot of people think that, oh, how is that possible? And obviously it went through many edits afterwards. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But you really, if you have an idea, you got to get it out. In my opinion, you don't start, stop, start, stop. You got to get it out because you'd be surprised at things you forget about or even kind of down the line, concepts that maybe you could have developed a little bit more that you just didn't even include. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of just getting it out as fast as you can and then kind of dealing with what where you're at that point.
But I like that too. The
Oh,
things you get the idea out. You can always
that's right.
edit. You can edit to death. I mean, I think that's not the
Mhm.
problem. A lot of times it's just, well, for me, I always say divine intervention. It's coming out of me. So
Mhm.
just write it out. You can
Keep it
finesse
going.
anything later, right? You can finesse everything later. Even after you have a script though, and it's been greenlit and you're going forward, doesn't it still change you when you're working on it? When you're like when you guys the actors start coming in, doesn't some things change?
Oh, a lot of the people that you trust can bring a lot of helpful information. You got to be careful of the people that you don't trust because they'll have a lot of ideas and a lot of directions that they're going to want to take things. But I mean, it's even to the point, obviously the director will have their opinion, but even after you've read it and you'll read it a lot of times, you'll feel some aspects that need to be strengthened or maybe a scene that might be too expository. You continue to massage it. You want to give the audience enough but not too much, and that balance can be very difficult at times. But once you get on the set, even when you're doing locations and you're seeing the different, how in altered reality, the different homes and that we were considering using, even that is inspiring. And then when you work with an Ed Asner, Tobin Bell, Lance Henriksen, they're going to want to talk before you start shooting and kind of give you their thoughts, their ideas, sort of where they want to take the character. And sort of going back to one of the first questions you asked me, that's sort of how it grows and comes to life. Because if you're getting opinions of people that have done it a lot and that you can trust and that are very talented, they only add to the film, and they only, they only put us closer to where we are today, of a movie coming out nationally.
Yeah, no, yeah. Now I want to put on the producer hat for a second. Can you kind of I mean, just give people a sense that how easy this is not to get something. I mean, because people are like, well, wait, I want people to feel hope that yeah, you can put out stuff too and get it on theaters, but just I kind of want to know a little bit that this is hard work for you to get something out there, financed, and put on screens nowadays. Now you get streaming and stuff. That's not saying that's easier, but like that happens too. But for this to be out on in actual theaters again after the pandemic and all that, can you explain a little bit of that process without
I,
going?
it's so, yeah, it's funny because it's like you never, I had one of my mentors tell me, he goes, you can go to film school and they'll tell you how to make a movie with $100 million. He goes, but they'll never tell you how to get $100 million. And he goes, and don't expect people to just hand you $100 million. And so, you kind of have to, learn to be a producer from kind of like reality. And it is a tremendous amount of work because you have to understand all aspects. You have to understand the politics of the industry. You have to be able to deal with agents and negotiate, and you have to deal with locations. Not to mention that you are, in terms of the finance aspect, you have to spend a certain amount of money, and you only have a set time, and you have to be very careful and vigilant to watch that budget, and at all angles, people are trying to kind of get their hands into the cookie jar. And so you kind of have to like do whack-a-mole and try to, you know I mean, like you wouldn't believe. It's like you're playing whack-a-mole, making sure everything that's being budgeted to a certain department is going in that direction. Then you're in charge of everything, so you have to make the right hires, bring the right director, bring in the right talent, negotiate with the talent. Then if for me, I'm on location, so you have to decide. Are you going to bring your family? Are you going to leave your family? And if you're going to bring the family, where? How far from set? Where are the locations? What is the weather in that community? Because you don't want to have to do a lot of indoor shooting type of thing. And then from there you got to get ready for prep, and you're working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like you don't have any time off. You're taking phone calls at all hours. There's always problems, like something, and sometimes it's not even really problems, but to certain people that's a 911. And so you have to ultimately take care of it, or just that they want somebody to finally sign off on something. So prep is like a circus, And then once you get into the production aspect, you know, for me, and if I'm performing on the film, I have to do both hats at the same time.
Yes.
So now you have to decide, okay, I have to, you know, basically memorize 100 pages. And, you know, people say things like, oh, you know, you wrote it. Well, I did, but I didn't memorize the whole 100 pages of the, you know.
That's a good point, though. People might think, well, you should know all the words. You're like, okay, now I wrote, and I don't remember every single word I wrote. Like I wrote the top.
That's right. That's right. And then so, you know, you have to go in, you gotta, you know, you gotta learn your lines, you gotta, you know, you gotta get back, make sure that you get on set the next day. I mean, there's a lot. And I don't even know if you want me to get into post-production, let alone distribution. But if anybody thinks that they could just, yeah, I'm a producer. If you're having a conversation with someone who is a producer, they can typically find out pretty quickly.
Yeah. I said, we're
How,
not getting into the weeds of all of that part. Yeah, there's a lot
right.
more in there.
There is. You asked the question, I'm just opening the doors.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, there's a lot more in there, obviously. Yes, but no, but you know, but you know, you really good point of the whole. Well, you wrote it, so you should just know. Like, well, no, I wrote it at one time. Like, I mean, yeah, I sat with the script for a while and all that stuff, but like, no, I don't know the words by heart.
Right, exactly. Scene one, you know,
Right.
camera pans
Yeah,
in
yeah,
into
yeah,
that old
yeah,
house.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah. That's hilarious. That's a question. Oh my god, that's makes me laugh. Yes, but no, but we're saying there is you can get it done. There is hope. I'm glad theaters are they're going back to theaters again. It's a good thing to have. I mean, I know it's tough there for a few years, but I'm glad we get back to theaters. So first of all, congratulations for you getting altered reality back in theaters.
thank you, I appreciate that.
That's really good. Um, After you're done with the film, I said, well, now it's being premiered today. You'll be going to red carpet, doing all the you do all the press right now. But after all that, how soon do you usually go to like, okay, I got another idea, or do you sit with this for a while it goes to the theater? So, or do you like take a big deep breath and go, oh, okay, I'm done. Well, now I think I'm done. It's a lot of work you did. You did a lot of work, so
You know, it definitely is. I guess you take a little bit of time off, but like right now, there's so much excitement. You can't like wait to like just keep going. It's like everybody, I've got, you know, people are coming from all over the country to the red carpet. You know, wonderful group of celebrities coming. You know, Tobin's excited, everybody's excited. It really kind of does the opposite of making you feel like exhausted. It makes you kind of want to keep going. And for well, you know, what's so exciting about this film, you know, as an independent to be put out nationally is tremendous, and our team is very excited. And now that and you know, I have had a relationship with AMC previously, and now that Regal has sort of jumped on board and is interested in you know what I'm creating, and then Cinemark at the end started to kind of reach out to us as well. There's just a lot of excitement. I have to admit I have some ideas percolating right now, and when I'll have time to kind of you know take aside a few days, I'm not so sure yet, but I'm not gonna lie, I've been thinking about it. So
see, I don't say I'm not, wait, you can't help it. I mean, I know it's two sides to that, right? Just say a lot of work, exhaustion. And the other side, you have we'll do it again. This is what you do for. This is what you do.
so it's like you're asking me like right after like a team has just like had a very tumultuous year and everybody was fighting and everybody hates each other and everybody's getting a divorce and then they won the championship and they're like let's do it again, you know. So you're asking me on the day of a most excitement, and that's sort of where we're at right
I
now.
love it. That's a great metaphor. That's a great I like about that metaphor for that. That's so funny. Congratulations on everything. Congratulations on the film. The film's called Alter Reality. It's in theaters today. So look for it wherever you have theaters at. And good luck tonight with all the festivities and stuff. You totally deserve it.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed myself, and listen, I look forward to the next time we talk.
Yes, I'll do the next film, of course. He's gonna,
Sounds
do
good.
another one. You're gonna do another one. Like, we're not surprised. You're gonna do another one. It's what just what you
Thank you.
do. It's what you do. And you're welcome on the show anytime to
I'll
promote
be
whatever.
here.
All
Great.
right. The film's called Alter Reality, of course, starring Tobin Bell, Lance Henriksen, and Ed Asner. You can see him. It's probably his last performance on there. One of his last ones, I'm sure. Or
You
one
know,
of them.
I've been asked that. I've been asked that, and
I'm
the
not sure
answer
either.
is sort of difficult because he may have another film that might be distributed. So the question is,
Yeah.
it's one of those chicken and the egg questions. I just sort of think to myself, I'm just lucky that I was able to work with Ed.
So folks who are Ed Asner fans, I'm saying this is something you'd be good. This because he worked up until he went. So I mean, he was always booked and busy. I always say, you always
Mhm.
tell me he's booked and busy. So our friend. And shout out to his family. Say hi to his family. I'm James Lott Jr. X Connections everywhere. We're on Facebook. I'm all over the place. Just Google my name, you'll see it everywhere. But I'm on all social media platforms. We're on all audio streaming services like iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google, Apple. Maybe Google's leaving. Amazon. They're on Amazon too. We're there also. What I think Google's, I don't know, they're leaving or something. But Apple, I'll make sure I said that. And on YouTube at JLJ Media, of course, you can find this and all others. And support indie artists. I say it all the time. Support them, support the arts. For arts in schools, it's been known that art in school actually helps other areas like math and sciences and English. And history. So please, art is also a very important part of our culture. And we got to support people who are out there like Charles and others who are out there coming together to put out entertainment for you and to tell their stories. So I'm always a big advocate about that. I'm James Lott Jr. We'll talk to you next time.